15 by the time 13. Just waiting for more people to show up. We'll just give it a few minutes while I charge my phone too while I'm at it. Hey. Holy cow, 111. Okay, so I'll do really quick. Let's just go right into it. I mean, I'm not like, I figure you guys are on, and let's go into, wow. Okay, hang on. What's happening? Okay, it looks like it dropped off for a second there. How's this now? Is I think it's just back. Okay, so let's just do a display capture. I guess I'll talk about it real quick before it sort of dies again. I've been having network issues. I think I have to reset the switch that I'm on. How's the sound? Is it okay? Alright, so last stream we were talking about the standoff for the bed mount. The idea was that we were going to let these O-rings allow the bed to expand when it's heated. The idea is good, but the problem is this M6, the City's M5, this M5 bolt. Oh no. Give it a few seconds, let it stabilize, because I just reset the switch and the cable I'm on. So let's see if it works better this way. Okay, looks like it's good. So, what was I saying? Oh, so basically, the issue was having the O-rings here was a good idea, but the issue was how to align the plate onto it, and the M5 bolt is also a little big, so then the O-ring becomes very hard to source, and drilling a blind hole in the plate was hard too. So a combination of different things sort of required me to look at this problem a little bit differently. So what I decided to do was come up with something a little bit different for the bed mount. So we're actually going to reverse it. Instead of having the O-ring on the post, is having the O-ring on the bedside. So how we accomplish that is we're going to use these bed posts, these steering posts from a Tamir buggy. So what's going to happen is on the underside of the bed, these would poke out from the underside of the bed, and we would put the O-rings on this post, and then the we would print a receiver on the extrusion side, so that um, this this peg will go into the extruder, the receiver, and kind of sit there. So it still allows the movement, but we no longer have to rely on a large bolt. This is a M3 through hole, and the peg itself is about 4 millimeters. So the O-ring will fit nicely around it. These are standard parts, so you can actually get them from the hobby store, and they have O-rings that fit the steering post. So everything should work fine. I just have to kind of sit down and draw out the receiver side. So what I mean is I'm going to have like a something to the extrusion, has a hole for the peg to sit into with the O-ring in the middle. Um, oh man, I think we're dropping frames again. Okay. I'm just gonna let it run a little, see if it catches up and has any issues before I start talking again. I think my laptop's overheating. That's why. It's like It's like really hot and it's dropping frames. So yeah, technical difficulties. I think I need a new. I think I need a new computer. Um. Anyway, so what I was saying was, basically we're gonna reverse this so that this part becomes the leg or the peg on the heat bed, and then it goes into a receiver on the extrusion side. So you basically mount the receiver on the extruder side, and then it drops into the hole, and it still allows the expansion, but then it's nice and neat. Um, this that means that either I have to kind of make M3 line holes to put a set screw in, so that we could put that peg on. So let me just bring it back up again. Um, where's the other one? There you go. So we could put this peg on through via the set screw. So we could kind of go try different things we could do, because like the idea is still new. I'll draw it out. I'll have the update on Saturday, because like I just got the idea today. I have to buy this peg, but I got the measurements from a friend, so I know about how tall it's going to be, and how wide it is. So we can kind of deal with that part of it. Had to have a prototype, but I got to buy the actual part, so that's going to happen next week. It's relatively cheap. I think this was like $6 for a pair. You need 2 pairs, so about $10 to $12 for this pair. But for 2 pairs, so that you will only use 2 pairs anyway for it. So I think it should be fine. Um, the the other update is I updated this diagram to show what it's going to look like. Basically, this is pretty much the final layout. I know I've been saying that for a while, but this is pretty much the final layout. So what it's going to be is this is an example of the corner of a a corner of the enclosed design. So basically, what happens, this is top view. This slot in here and this slot in here will allow you to. Oh, we dropping frames again? God damn it! Yeah, it seems like it just decides to drop frames or something. Like I don't see any issues. I restarted the machine. The internet's fine. I mean, my dad's streaming some video upstairs, but it's not taking up the upstream. So, and it seems to it used to work fine before, right? So I'm not sure what the heck is going on. So, unless I'm getting DDoS or something. We're back, right? So anyway, let me quickly finish up this part here. So the extrusion would go into the other extrusion. Fuck. Um, the panels would go into this slot and this slot, so that it would totally enclose the printer, and the that slot. If I could get a good view here. So that slot goes the entire length of the entire height of the printer. So what you could do is actually end up sliding in a panel from the top, and it would block out that entire side. So it makes it very easy to enclose the printer. I mentioned to Donald, if we replace this piece. If we replace this piece with a 3060, then it gives something for the bottom of the panel to sit on instead of directly on the table or the whatever surface you have it on. It would sit into another groove on that. So the like if you put if you imagine that there's a 3060 here, it would complete this groove and allow the part to sit on the bottom. So I'll update the diagram for Saturday so I can show you what it looks like when you got the 3060 on the bottom here. And then it would be sort of the same on this side. You will have a 3060, and this the panel that comes down this groove will end up sitting in another groove as well. I purposely left the gap here. There's about a 30mm gap on the bottom of the enclosure. It's you got to remember, right? Like even if you're gonna vent it and filter the air out of your enclosure, air has to go in for air to come out. So it cannot really be totally airtight. So the gap here in the front, in the back, is kind of allow it to have kind of like an inlet for the bottom, so that it would kind of suck up the air from the top. Yeah, that's the idea. The panels would slide down from the top, and then it kind of sits there, and then you would use the rubber gasket to, if you wanted to make it more airtight, you would use a rubber gasket to seal it up against the slot. Otherwise, is good enough for it to be in that groove, and then you could make it slide up and down and get it out of the way. The other one is the top piece. I left enough clearance. I'm guesstimating is I left enough clearance between the top of the spider and the top of this extrusion here, so that you could just put a piece of like you guys just bolt on a flat piece and cut a hole for the filament input, and the bolting should work pretty good on that. If not, then what you have to do is sort of build a hood on top of it, so to allow it to move around. We won't know that until actually build the spider and then start running bolting into it. But right now, it looks pretty good that it's going to work. There's enough clearance there. but we could kind of revisit that area later. Um, the At least the goal right now is to get at least the completed frame um, looking like a printer before we kind of do some modifications to extrusion. The extrusions to this, to replace them to do some basic design changes, it shouldn't be that bad. The actual movement parts are pretty much set. Like we went through it and it was pretty much set, so I think we'll be okay. Looks like the whatever problem I had with the dropping is gone. Knock on wood. Um, so I know that there wasn't really much done on this because I've been sort of taking care of my dad last few days, so didn't really have much time, and then I wanted to take a break from this because it was kind of taking up a little bit of my time. How much space is in the bottom of the frame when the bed is lower? I'm guesstimating to be about 60 millimeter minimum, because let me zoom in a bit. This is the cross beam that the Z motor is gonna mount to. So the Z motor is gonna mount to this. So you're gonna have at least 30, maybe 60 millimeter of space on the bottom of that. So the bottom of that enclosure really was designed as so that you could put in your power supply and your SSR, and if you were using one, and your controller, everything could be on the bottom there. So if you could get a bottom panel made so that you can put everything under the bottom as well. So that's the goal. It's basically most of these cube printers designed so that the bottom space is used for that purpose, is to allow the wiring or the bed to sort of tuck into the bottom, and also to have enough. Like, this is a huge space. You have to remember too, this is like 500 by 500, so there's gonna be dead space in there. You could run all sorts of stuff in there. Like, you want to make some pie mounts and stuff like that, you put it all in there, so it's not a big deal. It'd be fully inside the footprint of the printer, so I think it'd be okay. So what else are we talk about? Oh, let's. I know, like I said, not much has happened. Not much has happened to this diagram. So I promise I'll work on it, and I will get back to you guys on it. I did eliminate the two top, the extra two top cross members, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's go. We're done with fusion, so let's go look at let's go shopping for a bit, in a bit. Let's just update these guys on this for a second. Okay, this one. So this is the Voron. The Voron. Somebody built a Voron. So I wanted to show you guys the rod mounting that I'm gonna kind of adapt for the cube. So maybe get a good picture here. Okay, there we go. That's about as close as he gets to the picture. So you see what happened is the Voron uses the underside of the top extrusion to mount the top of the rod here. So it is like a L-shaped bracket that comes down, so that it would did I just, yeah, I think I just did. Okay, so it would hold the rod a little lower than like a little lower than what the top of the gantry is. Same thing on the bottom. Oh man, down again. Okay, we should be back again. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's restart this again. So you see how the two sides, the rod mount comes down. like an L, and basically it offsets the rod from the inside extrusion so that it would clear the moving parts. So I'll use a similar idea where I'll model my own brackets to bring it down and out into the printer so that it will hold the 12 mil rod kind of in the same spot. And the bottom works the same way. Basically, the bottom comes out the side and will hold the bottom of the rod. So basically, it just offsets the rod from the side of the enclosure, which is what we need to do anyway. Is to have the on the edge of the enclosure is moving in about 20 mil. I think it's a 25 millimeter, so we have to move it in 25 millimeter. So it would come down and out 25 millimeter, hold the top of the rod, and then on the bottom it's going to come out and up and hold the bottom of the rod. So that works pretty well. The bed mount I won't use like a fully printed plastic piece because I printed that piece. Oh man, again. Okay, so just getting a little annoying. Um, yeah, blame Bob. But so, like I was saying, I won't use a fully printed piece for the bed mount because I printed that piece and it's a pain in the ass to print because it takes forever to print and it doesn't stay straight. So I can't guarantee the straightness of that piece. So what I'm gonna do is actually use the 2020 like to build the bed frame and then and then just print um, bearing holders to interface the rod to the 2020 so that we kind of like minimize the printed part. Okay, so I made a change. I was using the primary YouTube ingest server, so it could be that the primary is overloaded because on my side there's absolutely no issue with the rest of the house. So this is the backup ingest server, so hopefully this will stay a little longer. Nope. This is getting so freaking annoying. It's a little bit getting on my nerves. So Chris, you've been having issues with your Volan build with the bed frame. Um, because I printed that piece like 3 times before I got it sort of half decently straight. So I wasn't very impressed with that piece. So this shows a little bit more about the rod holder. So it kind of comes down and out. So you can see how it offsets and misses um, the piece. We don't need such a big L because we don't have anything in the way. We just have to kind of come down and a small L, and it'll clear fine. So I want to kind of maximize the height of that piece. So we'll like I'll work out the model hopefully the next few days and then have it ready for the Saturday stream. And hopefully Saturday won't be this bad because this is pretty bad. I mean, well, we had like what at least 10 drops. Um, I'm just gonna talk really fast and hopefully I won't we'll kind of get past this point. So um, bearing blocks on the extrusion. Yeah, I was looking at that using bearing blocks, but um, they took up too much space. I can honestly tell you, I have the model for the bearing blocks. The other problem is that bearing blocks are really meant to be horizontal. When you start using bearing blocks vertically, the slop of the bearing is not acceptable to me. So um, what you want is you want the So, like I was saying, there's a slop is not very good. So what you want to do is have a clamp style or like a fully enclosed style so that you don't have any slop on the bushing. So I'm going to be using the I guess bushings with the tighter tolerances so that it wouldn't have the slop. So hopefully that will work. Like I said, I kind of want to quickly go through the rest of the stuff that we're going to cover. So um, again, drawing inspiration from the Voron for the lower and upper rod mounts, just L's. So let's just kind of move on from there. That's one, and then what else we talk about? Let's just bring this whole thing down and we could just show you. This is the heat bed, the silicon heater for the bed. So what I mentioned this a few times. So it's going to be line voltage 110 straight from the wall, because at 420 by 420 it's really difficult for you to bearing holders around cylindrical through-hole ones. Yeah, those ones will work too, but they have slop. So so fucking annoying. So I was saying this is the silicon heater I wanted to use, because it has a controller. Oh man, come on, this is really. This is crazy. I'm just gonna like. Okay, so I was mentioning that this is the silicon heater I wanted to use because it has an external controller. I know. I mean, I'm clicking start stream and end stream, and I think that's the problem too, right? Is when when the YouTube ingest server is down or is flaky, people are constantly hitting it because is like I had to stop the stream, hit the stream, stop the stream, hit the stream, and it's making the problem worse. But you know what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of quickly go through the rest of this, and then tomorrow I'll repeat the whole thing again tomorrow, because hopefully tomorrow it'll be better. But let's just kind of go and finish up the next 10-15 minutes, and then just kind of move on from there. I know. So last thing, cover this and we're done. So the if you use a line voltage, the only way to control it from the yeah, a little earlier tomorrow. The only way to control the voltage, like to control the power, is through a SSR, solid state relay. The problem I don't like about solid state relay is the you get some really cheap ones, and I leave my printer unattended for like 25-30 hours at a time. So I don't want to trust a knockoff or potential knockoff solid state relay. And a good Quidem, I think it's pronounced Quidem SSR from, let's say, Mauser is like $70, 60, $70. So this one with the external controller is only $37 more than one without a controller. And also, this comes with this yellow cord here is the grounding strap. So basically, I mentioned that last stream is you want to ground your aluminum plate so that if something happens to your silicon heater, all the power that normally would have came out and killed you or set the place on fire would run into the grounding, and then it would basically should trip the breaker when it goes into the ground, and or blow the fuse, whichever way happens first. So this has that safety ground built into the harness already. So all you have to do is stick this on the bottom of your aluminum plate, connect the grounding wire to the aluminum plate, and turn on your controller and set the temperature. That's it. The only downside is that you don't have control of the temperature from the Rambo or whatever, or the smoothie. You don't have control of the temperature. That's the only downside. So we'll play around and see which one is the preferable way of doing that. I personally like this style. Maybe some people don't, so we kind of have to play around with it, see which one goes well. Let's move on. So this one is interesting because it's an Olsen block um, Ultimaker extruder slash hot end, whatever you want to call it. The one thing I saw about this is that this top piece here is one piece aluminum, and also the fan shroud is um, that one of you can just open that thing up and jack it into his control side. Um, I got an idea for that. Give me a second. Let me finish this thought. So this one has a metal fan shroud. It's one of the better looking ones that I've seen. And it's only 85 bucks plus free shipping. Um, the I'll show you it has a built-in PT100 24-volt heater. So it's actually a pretty good deal. Like you see, this fan shroud is full aluminum. Some of the other ones are like bent aluminum plate. This is actually machined fan shroud, and it looks pretty sweet. I'm gonna buy one of these and see if it works out okay. It looks like it's a um, pretty decent engineered piece, and it's only 85 bucks. So I'm gonna pick up one of these and see if it's any good. We could use it on our design or not. It looks pretty promising, so like, I'm gonna look at that and go from there. I'm gonna knock on wood a bit because the stream has been stable, so and I'm kind of rushing through it. So what I was thinking is that what you could do is if you really wanted control of the temperature, yeah, you could go back and use SSR. Or if you say, you know what, you're going to start a print, set the temperature, and then walk away, but you want it to turn off when the print is done, you can actually have your octopi or whatever you're controlling with, just send the signal over to a relay. That'll turn off the some kind of power box to turn off the power. But again, then that kind of goes back to using a relay. So it's kind of like a circular problem, right? Like we want to eliminate the SSR, but then you're going to use SSR to control the controller, which sort of like flashlight to a solar panel to a flashlight kind of thing. So we're going to have to kind of think about that, but at least for now, we could agree that it would be a silicon heater, 110 volts, because that's the only way you're going to be able to heat that big plate up in a reasonable amount of time. So it has to be a silicon heater. How we control it is another story. Yeah, so IoT, but the thing is that if you do IoT, then you could have just used IoT, like you have another thing in the chain. So I like personally to simplify things, right? So it looks like it's stable, so I'm gonna be a little greedy and talk about something else. The bomb. So I've been updating the Haribo Cube, or Haribo 420 bomb. I've been setting it up so that basically these are the parts that are sort of set, meaning that we sort of stable on those parts. Things like the flange bearings for the idler, the belt and the pulleys and so on. Those things are kind of set, and the idea is that if I start listing those, people could start to pick them up for their build, because there's a lead time, right? For AliExpress and those guys, there's a lead time for the parts that arrive. So we kind of want to get ahead of that. So showing the sundry parts. Yeah. Good night, guys. I know you guys have to go, so go to sleep, and then tomorrow I'll do an encore of this, or later on tonight I'll do an encore because I'm not really happy with the quality of it. What I'll do is I'll do a recorded session and then upload that so that it's not so extreme. So good night, guys. Anyway, what I was saying was I divided this into sections, like the sundry parts, then electronics. So we know that we're going to need at least 5 motors. So I showed these one last time, the 5 motors from AliExpress, and then we're going to go with a Meanwell So right now it's listing as 12 volts. If we decide to go with a 24 volt heater for the hot end, it's going to be 24 volts. So that's kind of to be determined. But smoothie or duet, I think we went with smoothie on the first. We're going to go with smoothie on the first round. If it's not working out, then we might kind of have the setup for both on duet and stuff. M3 by 12 socket caps for mounting the rail to the extrusion. And this is pretty much set. The linear rails, we decided that 456 millimeter is where we kind of go with. So we're gonna have to like, you could actually order these. We're pretty much gonna be set on these two items here. The sleeve bearing for the XY carriage, those are also set. So we're pretty good on those. This is where it kind of gets a little bit chaotic. So there's common parts for the for whether you use open frame or you use enclosure. So these four pieces are the four bottom pieces. So they are just 500 millimeter straight straight pieces. Tap both ends so they can mount them. I'm thinking is that we'll replace these with 3060 for the enclosed one, so that there's a frame for the bottom of the panels to fall into. So I'm gonna update this later. This is gonna move to the open frame parts, and then we're gonna add a 3060 version of this for the enclosure. This one, HFSP6, is actually the milled surface version of that 500 millimeter. So this is where Masumi will mill out 0.4 millimeter from the top and bottom of the extrusion, so that it's perfect flat, so that the rail mounting surface is not is guaranteed to be flat. That way you don't have the problem of it buckling on the extrusion itself. It does add cost to getting it milled from Masumi. I'm going to share with you guys later on the chat. There seems to be a glitch. If you buy one of the other part numbers, sorry, let me go back. If you buy this HPS P6 milled surface, 500 millimeter tap both ends, it's like $23. The non-mill version is like $9, so it's roughly about $23 and $8.90, so roughly about 3 times as much cost to get the milled version. But I found a part number you could use that's milled, and it's like the same cost. So I'm not sure if it's a glitch or not, but we'll use that part number for now and see if we get it from Masumi. I shared that with Donald before, so he's ordered it and I ordered it. So if it works out, we'll let you guys know when you guys can order it, and not have to pay the extra milling cost. The insertion nuts, this is the 3030 version of the nut, but has an M3 hole. Then that's used for the mounting the rail to the 3030 extrusion, because the rail uses 3030. I mean, so it uses M3. So you need the M3 T-nuts. You're gonna need M6 T-nuts as well. And if you did the Haribo 3030, I think you should have enough left over for this build. There's not a lot of parts attached to the 3030 on this design, so I would guesstimate about 3540 will more than enough to cover what you need to put onto the frame. So if you bought a pack of 100 for the 3030 build, you're gonna have enough, should have enough left over. If not, like I said to you guys before, I'll buy them and I'll split the pack for the 3030 as well. For the M3 as well, because the M3 you don't need 100, you only need like a handful of it. So I'll sell them to you guys separately as well. The M870, this is interesting because for the 3030 you'd use a M8 by 40, and that's the through hole between the two 3030 pieces. But because you are now, for the enclosed part, you are going through a 60-60 into a 30-30, you need to get M8 by 70. So I listed that here, M8 by 70 socket head cap screws. M8 by 70 is going to be tough to get, so not everybody carries it. So you know, listing it early so that if you guys are going to build it that way, you need to buy these bolts early so that you could put it together. So you only need M8 by 70 for these enclosure build. I think that's it on covering everything on here. I mean, I got other things like power wires and switches and stuff like that listed on here. The Mix 6 aluminum cast plate, I'm going to update this as well to show you could use ATP5, which is what you get from Midwest Supply. ATP5 is a little bit cheaper and a little bit less money than the Mix 6. They work the same. For what our purposes, they work the same. So it depends on where locality you are. If you get ATP5 or Mix 6, it's up to you. Like the cost is much lower on the ATP5. Sorry, it's about $50 from Midwest Metals. Um, I specify quarter inch. Um, I'm gonna get a quarter inch and 3/8. So I'll see if quarter inch and 3/8 what the difference is in terms of the flex. Just in terms of weight, the quarter inch is about 7.8 pounds. The 3/8 is 9.3. So it's about a 1.9 pound difference between the two, and it shouldn't matter for the Z platform the extra weight, but just so you know, there's an extra 1.9 pounds difference between quarter and 3/8. So whether that creates a problem or not, I don't know, but the 3/8 will be much stronger because it's thicker, right? So let's see. Go back to this one. So I got the eSun PLA Plus on sale from Filament.ca. The first layer printed pretty poorly. I was actually going to complain about it. When I use the Filament.ca PLA, the first layer prints wonderfully, but this one is printing right now is eSun. The first layer was crap. Like it wasn't sticking at all. So nothing changed. All it changed was the filament, and it's just crap. So I'll see how it works out once it starts printing. Like it's on the fourth layer right now, and it's looking pretty good. But the first layer adhesion was pretty bad on it. The color is nice though. It's a light cyan blue. So I ended up getting 5 rolls from them, and I think they pretty much sold out of most of the colors. So if you want to get some, no, this isn't where you can click the affiliate link. So just so we are clear, like I use them personally. Like I have at least 60 rolls here from them. So and what I did, like just in case some guys didn't catch it before, was what I did before was I went to them and said, hey, you know what? I'm part of a chat group. We buy a lot of filament. Let's get a discount on the filament. So they gave me a permanent discount code. So like that's the one I share with you guys. That gets you 10% off. So I don't get anything out of it. Like seriously, like I honestly say I don't get anything out of it. All I do is I use the filament and it prints great. I think guys who tried it knows it prints great. So I don't believe in getting paid to say that. Like I use it personally on everything I print. Like it's this stuff, right? You know, it's pretty good. I mean, I have no issue with the filament. So why not? Why not recommend it, right? It seems like they're starting their own. I guess you can't really see this, but the Filament.ca, they coming up with their own. Oh, I guess I should change this so that FaceTime. There you go. Purge filament. so they send it in an order. It's free actually. They send it as a sample. So basically, they are making their own purge filament, and this is the cleaning the draino for your hot end. They sent me 4.5 millimeter for free, so for testing. So if you, I guess if you order these things, they'll just throw it in and you try it out, and that's more than enough for most of what we're gonna use it for anyway. Um, so yeah, I mean, you get something for free, right? We're gonna complain about. Um, what else in the cover? Kind of pushing my luck. The stream seems to have stabilized, so um, 15 millimeter rail with the adjustable carriage. So this is what I was exchanging from before. Um, you might remember the last stream. I got the non-adjustable version, which is silver. This is black. This is the adjustable version. So the adjustable version. Let me just take this out. The adjustable version basically has um, 2 screws there, and that adjusts the top and bottom and the sides so that it would grip it will move the material in there that glides on the rail. It will allow you to adjust that when on the it will allow you to adjust that on the resistance on the piece itself. This is not as loose as the other one. I kind of like it. Like I could loosen it a little bit so that it would slide under gravity, but it seems like they adjusted it just enough so that there's no slop. So I'm gonna leave this and see how it works out. It slides very smoothly. There's no slop in it, and like it's pretty good. So I think I'm gonna leave it and let it run a little bit. After I run it a few times, it seems to run fairly smoothly. So and that's the 456 millimeter version. So that's the right one for the build. So we're okay with that. Ended up getting, and they come in a nice box. So the other one came all loose in a bag. These came with boxes, but they're like $10 more than the other one for the adjustability. So yeah, they better come in a box like this. So what else am I talk about? I know, like John, like the Jade Green that I sent you, those are great. I mean, the PTG that from them was just, you can't really go wrong with it. That's why they've been selling out a lot, right? Because what they call it prints well, and I don't really have a lot of problems with it. And I've been stocking up on all the different colors because like I don't like running out. So so the one that I'll go back to display capture here for a second. So you really can't see it. Hopefully, probably can't really see this. So 125.99. So for the controller version of the silicon heater is 125.99. For $90, which is like $35 less, is the non-controller version. So I could tell you the worst case is you buy the controller version and just try it for a bit. If you don't like it, you could lop off the controller and then just hotwire it. So we could do both. So, but for $30, you really can't go on because, like I said, a good SSR is going to cost you more than $30, and then you have to still do the wiring and all that other jazz. They come pre-packaged, ready to go. Plug it in, you're done. So let's go with that. Let's open up questions and opinions and discussions because like I that's about the update I've got, and not much happening around here. I mean, I got that shipment off the filament, and yeah, the Eastern stuff. But for the price, I guess I can't really go wrong with them. In 24 snow pesos, it's like less than $20 US. So for some of the stuff I don't really care about, is use that and print that. Donald, I have to thank Donald again because Donald has been a pretty good sport. Number one is he's doing all the plates for the serial numbers for the cube, for the alpha, beta, and then for the general release. At the same time, he's also very active. Between me and him, has been pretty active in ordering the parts. He wants to really help me out by testing the design. So again, I gotta thank him for that. Patrick up at Ottawa, he's been busy the last few days, but he's been spending a lot of time on researching the smoothieware. So he's been rewiring his Haribo to use the smoothieware. So he becomes kind of like an expert in that right now. And again, he also offered to be kind of the one of the main testing guys because he's just a few hours away from me. I think also thank the rest of you guys to kind of give me the feedback on things like the we had a first pull request for the bomb because I made a copy paste error and then we corrected some issues and stuff like that. So it's been great. Kyle, I think if you use filament.ca, their PLA and their PTG, I think you'll find a big difference between the quality of the eSun stuff. It's more expensive. I mean, like I think it was like $35 or $37 for PTG for filament.ca, and it's like less than 30, 25 to $30 for eSun. But the extra $8 to $10, you really feel the difference between them. So I think you just buy a roll or two and try it out. I think you'll be surprised. You'll be pleasantly surprised how well it prints. I've been happy with that stuff. The dark orange that they have is like a dead ringer for the Prusa orange. So if you want a PTG dark orange, just get it from Film.ca and it's going to come out looking exactly like the stock Prusa. Like this one is printed with that, and it looks just like the orange. It's a little bit lighter, but you're not really going to notice it unless you do like side by side on it. It's a tad lighter, but for PTG it's not bad. Yeah, so I think we're up to like 5 or 6 on the alpha list. So if you want to be on the alpha, just sign up on the list, do pull requests on the list, and then I'll add you Then Donald's gonna send you a plate for the alpha team. So I think it's worth it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you want, I could send you a roll or two. Like one, because they're local to me. I just get it and I can ship it to you to Florida if you want to try it. But the it's 200 Canadian. So if you buy, I think 4 or 5 rolls, and you got over 200 Canadian, they'll ship it for free anyway. If it's under 200, is $25 flat rate shipping. So I know it seems like you guys are used to not paying shipping, but $25 for filament is actually not bad because the box is pretty good. It comes pretty well packed, so you might consider that. You're just getting a few like 4 or 5 rolls, and that's good for you. And you send it. They send it down to you. Okay, upload number 3 on the list. I think we had to. I think there was like CWE. I think wanted to be on it, and a few other people will wanted to be on it. So I'll update the list, and then Donna will take the list and send you guys the plates. My Misumi order is coming 28, June 28. So I will have the outside frame done so that I can show you guys pictures of it so that you can see how big the thing is going to be. The I guess order is already here. So once I'll get to that question in a second, John. So once I get the Misumi order, I will start assembling the XY gantry. and then I'm gonna order the that hot end that I showed you guys, and then see make sure that works, and then I can make the movement. And then in the meantime, I will draw the Z, okay, get the mounting plate done, then go get the bed and the heater, and that's pretty much the printer. I mean, we're on the home stretch for the alpha release, so we're pretty good. Like, I think we're a little bit behind, maybe a week, because I've been lazy, and like I've been busy in my life, so I think we're about a week behind. We'll catch up. Don't worry, we'll catch up. We'll do some of the stuff in parallel, and hopefully buy some time. Um, Double length made you from the same versus two separate brands. Actually, that is actually what I would suggest if you don't want to mod. Like, say for me, is I modded my XNs to use RJZMs or ZJMs or whatever, ZJMs, yeah, RZJMs. If you don't use the encased ones, yeah, just replace the both of them with a double length, because they will take up all the space in a double length anyway. And I like it. Like, I like the double length because you don't have alignment issues. The problem with having two bushings or even two bearings top and bottom of each other is that when the rod goes through it, it has to align correctly. Otherwise, you get a binding. So a single double is going to work better than two doubles. I I had used double before and it works fine. So try the double. If you have problems, uh, maybe we'll have to reprint the whole the accents, but just try it out. Let me know how it goes. The You might have to if you have a lot of binding, or you have a trouble getting the double into the clamp. Maybe you need to use the MK2S version, which is a little bit wider. But I don't think so. I think you should be able to just sort of slowly kind of jack it in there, and it should work fine. Um, Donald, I'm leaning for my own use. I'm leaning towards 2.85 because I feel that the when we're going with the volcano and we're going at that speed, the 2.85 will work out better. The only problem is that the 2.85, um, the is that there's very limited amount. Like, they are starting to catch up in terms of the exotic filaments, like nylon and all the other stuff. But and then the PTG and all that is slowly catching up. But I think the 1.75 guys will um, you could do either one. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The personally for mine, when I build it, I'm gonna go 2.85. If you want to go 1.75, it doesn't really matter because basically you just get the correct extruder and the correct cut end, and you go from there. The I think Ultimaker and those guys still use like a loose bot, still a 2.85 or 3.0, mainly because they know that when you go fast, you're moving twice as much, almost twice as much filament with a single movement. So on a 420 by 420, you need that filament movement. So I think I'm gonna try 2.85 and then see how it goes from there. Um, I don't want to be waiting like days for the print to finish. So yeah, so I think I would go with 2.85. I guess that's the answer. Oh, John, I'm glad that it runs smoothly. So I think if you go ahead with the double, I think you'll be happy with the double on the Z because you're not rapidly moving anyway, so you're not going to hear that much noise on the Z, so it should be fine. I will go with that with the double, and then the Musumi is pretty good quality, so shouldn't have too much trouble. Um, Not definitely not the definitely not the stock Ultimaker or even some of the modded Ultimaker ones. It's gonna be um, I'm gonna talk to Voron guy, the Russian cat food. See if I could get him to let me use his extruder. He has a belted geared extruder that works really well. See if I could find it. This one, something similar like this, but not this one. Sorry, this one. So, um, you could use the same. Of course, I got the wrong display capture. So let's just kind of go. Yeah, let's go with this one. So this is the extruder from the Voron. It's basically a similar idea to the weight extruder. The is the gear reduction on the instead of using gears, he's using a belt to do the gear reduction on the stepper, and then he uses the idea here is the same as that. Um, I think they call it the Mockingbird extruder arm here to hold the filament in, and this is the how where the filament exits. So the way this is set up is you could use it on top of the spider for a direct drive, or you can actually remote mount it and use a Bowden. So the same, most of the parts are the same. You have to kind of change one part or two parts to get it to work with the Bowden versus direct drive. But the let's say the gear and stuff like that is all the same. So I'm gonna ask him if I could either use it directly or get some inspiration from him on working with this gear extruder. Bondtech was another one I was looking at. I know that Bondtech has a Ultimaker extruder, um, which is basically just a Bowden extruder, right? So they do have it like the Bondtech one, but again, that tend to be a little bit expensive. So, but it works well. So I guess no, like depends on we gotta play around with it. I think that's the I guess that's the answer. Is we have to kind of play around with it, see what works better. But I built the Voron extruders, but I couldn't get them to run through. That's the problem too. Is like the Voron. It was great. The design is great. I think everything he's strived to do is great, but I don't think he took into consideration the variation on people's printers. Like a lot of his prints, you really need to have a really well calibrated printer for it to make the parts. Like you've seen, like the bed mount, the extruder, and all the other stuff is really dependent on having a good printer to begin with. So when you have it slightly off, or the filament or the settings slightly off, and you have the variation, you out like everything else out the window. So I sort of like minimizing the number of printed parts. Number one is that it's faster to market. Like if you could buy them off the shelf. Don't bother trying to print them. Seriously, like like you buy brackets, buy the brackets, don't print them, because the 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 cast brackets or the stamp brackets is going to be 100 times better than what you're going to print, and you don't have to waste the time printing or waste your film printing it. So again, like I said, the parts count on the printed parts count on the cube is very low. So you're not going to have a lot of variations. And the parts that are made to be printed, there's some leeway in how precise they need to be. Um, Once you get the printer going, you always it's kind of like the Haribo 3030. What I found was that I used my MK2 to print the 3030. Then I used the 3030 to print another 3030 parts, and they came out way better. So what I ended up doing was then we printed the parts for the first printer and replaced all of it. So you're gonna probably do the same thing where you're gonna build a cube, you're gonna print big parts, and you're gonna print like better parts, and you're gonna replace your existing parts anyway. So I think that's gonna be given. This bond tag looks pretty good, but I think last time I checked it was rather expensive. I gotta see like um, how much it was. I think it was like 100 and change for a bond tag. So um, yeah, like 100 and change with the gears and everything, right? So um, like universal left-hander. So that's 3.0 155 or 1.75. So looking at 155 bucks for extruder. So kind of pricey, but at the same time is this is kind of like the Cadillac. It's the best in the market for this. I mean, the Bondtech has dual gears and everything, so I think it's worth the money. I would go with a pair of these if I want to do dual extrusion. So uh, again, we're gonna have to go and look at it. Their parts are very nice. I mean, I like it, and the it works well. We'll see. I think this is probably gonna be on the reference build. It's gonna use use a bond tech maybe for the reference build, and then you guys can kind of like that's the nice thing about this, right? Is that because the extruder is remote mounted versus Bolden, you can use anything you want as long as you can push the filament in through the Bolden tube. The spite is the same, so you're not tied into a certain extruder design because of the direct drive. So yeah, we can play around with this. This is one of those things that we can play around with. I think with the drop frame issue in the beginning, um, we are sort of coming up to uh, 1 hour mark anyway. So I think let's just kind of end it here because I don't want to push my luck and have it go dropping frames again. So it was a quick stream. I apologize, even though it's not my fault. I apologize for the technical difficulty in the beginning. Hopefully, it you guys skipped over the first 10-15 minutes of that and got to the good parts and then started listening in on the changes. So just to recap, the goal this week is to finish up the bomb so that the known parts are all listed. I have to verify the bushing count and what we're going to do with the spider. Then finalize and finish and start and finish the Z mounts so that we can order the Z parts. Um, the heat expansion post idea, got to finish modeling that, and then update the ongoing model with the new design so that we can see what it looks like. Update the bomb with the 3060 for the bottom of the enclosure so that it will have something to sit on. And there was a question about alignment of the rail. Let me just change this again. Alignment of the rail to the extrusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two jigs. One jig is going to be the distance of the end of the rail to the end of the extrusion. It's basically you're going to run a jig and it's going to butt up against the end of the rail so that it would put it in the correct spot. 22 millimeter from the edge of the extrusion, it's going to have a jig that pushes it right at 22 millimeter. The second jig is going to start here and slide along the 3030 extrusion and align this center to the extrusion, and then it's gonna have a hole on the top. That's how I'm gonna design it so that you can actually bolt in each one of these holes. Kind of like if you imagine this is that jig, right? You kind of slide along, and every part of it you're gonna have access to the bolt hole, so they can bolt it down, and then the carriage is gonna basically push down. You push down on it, it aligns it in the middle, and you push it all along the rail into the end, and then you bolt it down. So that will help you align the rail to the correct spot on the extrusion without it being on the printer, because then you could do all the assembly on the table ahead of time and then bolt it together. So those two jigs will have to be made. Like I'll model those jigs as well. It's not too tough. It's basically just a simple one-time use jig to bolt down the rail to the extrusion. So that it's gonna be a fun-packed week for the next week or so. Kind of rushing to finish all this stuff. Um, let's get some metal pieces and um, get going on assembly starting probably end of next week. And stuff starts coming in. I know it's getting to the end of the month where you know July 1st in Canada, July 4th in the US is going to be a big holiday. So um, hopefully everything will after the holidays, after the July 1st, July 4th weekend, we'll have something that we'll have something moving at least, so that you can see the gantry movement and we can test out the noise levels and the smoothness of the linear rod idea and all that other jazz, so that at least we could prove that this is a good idea. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there, and I'm hoping that we get into alpha, like I said, by July. Uh, Start to kind of sort out the issues, and then have make any necessary changes for the beta, and then start the beta in August. I think getting into that'll buy me some time in between to work on my scooter. That's something I wanted to get back into, is working on the scooter. So hopefully that works. Again, like I said, I won't babble on. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm up to 88. Let me just double check. Uh, yeah, I'm up with 88 subscribers. So when we hit 100, I'll be happy. So I'll catch up with you guys later on chat, and let me know if there's anything that you guys want to cover for the next stream. Okay.